As Kokakku Hidorah arrived on the dinosaur simulator island, he realized a figure in the distance. There stood the Terror One ready to fight Kokakku Hidorah. Kokakku Hidorah asked him, "I've heard of you, so who are you, Albino Terror?" while laughing. Albino Terror stood there with a smile and replied, "I'm simply gonna finish you off. You know it's nice having a challenge for once." The battle began. They were both fighting ferociously, but Kokakku Hidorah felt overwhelmed. This is when he summoned giant Albino Baryonyx to help him. Before this, they made a deal to stop Albino Terror from getting in Kokakku's way. Kokakku Hidorah and Gabi both laughed after he got knocked back. But Albino Terror stood there laughing, saying, "You need a fraud to help you?" As the battle continued, Albino Terror was beating down on Gabi while fighting Kokakku Hidorah. Both Terror and Kokakku were clashing cursed techniques, but Kokakku was desperate to put Terror down, so he used his technique, Wrathful Bolt, directly at Albino Terror. This sent Albino Terror flying back and crashing into the ground. He got up and jumped towards Kokakku with his own move, but this is when Mammoth intervened, using his range to knock Albino back. This battle turned from a 2 versus 1 to a 3 versus 1. During this battle, Albino was holding back a move, and Kokakku Hidorah realized this, trying to take him down, but he got knocked back. This led to the Terror getting the upper hand and throwing the fraud giant Albino Baryonyx, knocking them out cold. This is when Albino Terror walked towards Mammoth, the strongest ranger. Albino stared down at Mammoth, saying, "I heard you were the strongest ranger. You look weak." Mammoth chuckled and replied, "Yeah, I could say that for your friend. After all, he couldn't survive my domain." Albino looked back with an upset face. "Yeah, but you wouldn't be able to touch me still." During this, as both Mammoth and Kokakku charged at Albino Terror, he said, "Domain expansion pitch black." This knocked Kokakku Hidorah back. He was confused. This allowed the Terror to take advantage and knock Kokakku out to have a one-on-one with Mammoth. This is when Mammoth used his domain expansion, infinite range, against Albino, knocking him back. This effectively stabbed Albino Terror, almost killing him. Mammoth chuckled. "That was easier than I thought." During this, Mammoth walked away thinking he had won, then looking in front of him, seeing Albino Terror shocked. Mammoth looked in agony. "You're still alive, for real?" Albino replied, "I'm for reals, reals." Then continued on.
"The only reason you're going to lose is because you didn't range me to red. You didn't use your bleed to finish me off with the domain, and using the real divine health siphon technique helped me there. And now you're going to die because of that."
Mammoth chuckled. "Oh, really?" This is when he desperately tried to get a hit on Albino with no prevail. He was dodging every move. Mammoth prepared his ranged attack at Albino, preparing and talking to himself. "He's gonna use a simple attack, all things I'm used to. I should win this very easy. But I feel as if something off. No, there isn't anything off. I'll win." Albino, floating, looking to the sky, saying,
"Megavore, I'm sorry that I couldn't save you in your 1v1 with Mammoth, but I'm not even worried about you anymore. It's just the outnumber feels so wonderful right now." Throughout the menu screen and default map, I alone am the Terror One.
When having the perfect combination of a tree in your head hitbox, it makes the ultimate utility. Imaginary technique. Tree swing.
As Kokakku Hidorah woke up after being knocked out, noticed that Mammoth was dead. This is when Albino Terror charged at him, beating the living shit out of him. This is when Kokakku backed up. He was ready for his finisher. Kokakku used his domain expansion, but Albino was prepared for this. He used red and blue and floated it into the air. This is when Gab woke back up, and Kokakku told him, "I'll be able to outclash his red and blue, just be prepared to finish him off." Gab replied, "Okay," and charged at the Terror. This is when Albino Terror said, "None of you know about this other perfect mixture, do you?" During that, Kokakku launched his assault on Albino, and Gab was right there to finish him off. The only thing they both didn't expect was Albino to mix red and blue to make, with this perfect mixture of mass, is show hollow purple. This ends up hitting the fraud Gabe, killing him in an instant. Kokakku looked in fear, trying to avoid it, but got hit by it. During this, from all the dust and ashes, Albino walked toward the destruction he made with his technique, purple. This is when the dinosaurs noticed Kokakku Hidorah was down. Albino Terror has won the battle against Kokakku Hidorah.